Hey everyone, my name is Sophie from Sophisticated Organization. Welcome back to another organizing video where today we're going to do a pretty quick organizing of both my side-by-side freezer and my pull-out freezer in the basement. So it's a double duty freezer video, really quick reorganize. The first thing I'm doing starting upstairs in our main refrigerator is pulling everything out. I'm starting by doing it kind of half and half because when you're working with a fridge or freezer, you don't want to actually pull everything out all at once because I don't want anything to start melting. And I am going to use a few containers that I already own, some food storage containers, and use them to organize my frozen fruit just a little bit better. We're really fortunate that we do have a freezer in our basement as well that I can put some backup stuff, and I like to have things that I use more often upstairs and easily accessible. And then I can put backup items mostly in the freezer downstairs, which I will show in just a few minutes. So in addition to having those large things of frozen fruit, I am also going to put some of the bananas in the pantry that were starting to go bad. One was really bad and the other few were not quite that bad yet, but I typically store them in a reusable silicone food storage bag like this stasher bag. I like this one because it opens up nice and wide and has a pretty big capacity, so I will store that in there. And then I'm gonna pop back into the freezer and see what other things I have in there that I can rearrange. I think I'm just gonna use the bottom drawer for pre-made veggies that are already in their packaging and keep them there.
Has a heart as pure, no, not like yours.
And then the drawer above it, I have a bunch of frozen food that I've made in advance, all for our child. We have an almost 16-month-old, and I make him a lot of foods from scratch and freeze things, so it's really easy for breakfasts or other meals for him to have foods that are really nutritious and I know he'll like and I like him eating. So I'm going to go through all of those Ziploc bags, those freezer bags, and reorganize, make sure everything's labeled properly because they weren't all labeled properly. Some things I can combine into smaller Ziplocs, and a few things I even pulled out and put in the refrigerator for him to eat tomorrow so they could thaw out a bit.
Could spread your love. What if your sweetness could reach everyone? There'd be no wars. Dreaming of you.
Luckily, I do know what most of these things are, or even if I don't know 100% maybe what's in the muffins that I made, I know that they're muffins for our child. I would highly, highly recommend anytime you make a freezer meal or freeze anything, you want to label it with what it is, even if you think you're going to remember, and the date that you froze it.
Gonna let the sun shine in today. I'm trying to make this darkness go away.
On the door here, I have some reusable pouches where I've frozen things in there for him. I can organize those there. And also on the door, I have frozen ginger. I really like buying the pre-made frozen ginger because it goes bad so quickly when you buy fresh. It's a little bit more expensive, but the convenience is great, and probably when you factor in how much ginger I waste when I buy it fresh, it is probably cheaper, although you could also buy fresh and grind it up and freeze it yourself.
My eyes so I can see the light. Oh, and I'll try to spread my wings so I can fly. Oh, and the darkness starts to fade. Feels like things are gonna go my way. Sunshine in the day. I'm gonna let the past be filled with smoke.
I do have another video that I filmed on all of my different freezer meal tips. And if you've seen that video, which I will link in the cards above if you're interested in watching that, but if you've seen that video, you know I'm a huge fan of using stasher bags like these. I'm also a huge fan of super cubes, which is what I use to freeze this tomato paste and pesto. They have a bunch of different sizes and it makes it so easy to make freezer meals or freeze any leftovers that you might have so things don't go to waste. And I'm just popping them out so I can clean those and use them at another time. And again, doing what I talked about earlier, labeling them before I stick them back in the freezer.
Oh, and I'll try to spread my wings so I can fly. Oh, and the darkness starts to fade. Feels like things are gonna go my way. I'm gonna let the sun shine in the day.
On the bottom here, I also have ice packs and a little bag that you can actually freeze, and I take that on the go when we bring snacks and stuff and I want things to stay cold, so I'm keeping that at the bottom door of the refrigerator. Now we're downstairs in the basement so you can see how I organize a pull-out freezer. You saw how quick it was to do that reorganizing project in the side-by-side freezer. The pull-out one, I have a few more organizing tools in here which I will pull out as I'm pulling everything out of the freezer. I use this divider to store my chicken. I buy a lot of our meat in bulk at Costco. It's a lot more economical for us, but we do end up with a lot of extra meat, so I use most of this freezer to store our bulk meat products.
Blood through my veins. Blue is the color of when you were leaving. Tell me, let me know what you feel inside. 'Cause you don't know me by name.
Typically when I come home from the store, I try to cut everything apart in advance before I freeze it, but sometimes I'm lazy or forget or don't have a lot of time. So I'm just separating everything right now so it's easier to organize, and then when it's mealtime and I need to grab 1 or 2 or however many packages of a certain type of meat, it's a lot easier just to grab and go.
Some people say that the path you are choosing only leads to where you.
I have a second divider on the other side. This one is adjustable. They're actually both adjustable, but I'm going to store my ground turkey and my ground beef in there. I have some little sausages. I also put bacon behind the chicken there. And then there is a little bit of leftover space and I want to keep all like items together. So I'm putting all of the salmon fillets behind the organizer on the left side of that top drawer. That way the whole top is all of the meats and seafoods and it fits perfectly. The only meat that I wasn't able to fit in there, we have some burgers, but I'm going to put that on the bottom drawer, which is really deep, has lots of space. And I realized that I was actually able to save a bunch of space. And as you saw in my freezer upstairs, I like to keep some empty room in the freezer if you're ever baking or doing something where you have to pop something in the freezer for a while, or if I run to the grocery store and get something new. It's really important to have some extra breathing room in there. I don't like to keep it super, super packed.
'Cause you don't know me by name.
So you saw all the meat there, and then on the bottom I have some leftovers like tomato soup, some of those things from upstairs that didn't fit, a big jar of pesto, and then let's go upstairs and take a look at the final product there.
Me by name. It's like you don't know me by name.
I hope that you enjoyed today's very quick freezer reorganization and that it inspires you to open your freezer, do a quick reorganizing, and tackle something you may have been putting off for a bit. But that is all for today, and until next time, I'll see you guys later.